Alright, so I built a PC and it went as well as you could have expected. My old laptop that I use for everything was literally dying, so I needed a new computer. I started out by researching every part that was essential for a gaming PC, and these parts were the CPU, CPU cooler, motherboard, RAM, GPU, case, and power supply. After a few hours of looking through quadrillions of parts, I settled on the following parts. Okay, I'm going to read these directly as the part is named on the store. So we got the AMD Ryzen 5 7600 6-core 12-thread unlocked desktop processor, Thermalright Assassin King SE ARGB 66.17 CFM CPU cooler, MSI Pro B650M-A Wi-Fi Pro Series motherboard. I'm tired of saying all these names. The rest of the stuff is just this, and this. After I drained my wallet and filed for bankruptcy, I waited for the items to arrive.
Few inches later.
That right there is almost $2,000 on my desk. So I started off with a motherboard, which is recommended that you place on the top of the box that it comes in, which helps with the static, which I've heard can completely destroy the components with some kind of electricity, but I'm not really too sure, and luckily nothing like that happened to me. Now this here is the slot for the CPU, the pussy unit, Central Processing Unit, which is basically the brains of the operation. Now all you have to do is put this small square in that small square, but I was so nervous that every single thing I did scared me. After I got it in, I closed the hatch and this thing broke off as I pulled down the lever and it scared the shit out of me. But little did I know it was actually supposed to come off. Next up was the RAM, also known as the ramming us machine, random access memory. Anyways, RAM goes in these slots here, and what's supposed to happen is you press down and you'll hear a click, but this is what I did. Hopefully this is supposed to fit. Oh my god. What if it just doesn't fit? Oh my god. That felt so wrong. Pro tip, use 2 hands on each end instead of trying to record like an idiot. To this day, I don't know if I damaged it or not, but it works fine, so we'll move on. I then time traveled to the future to follow my pro tip from this video, and put my camera down to put it in safely. Here's the sound you're supposed to hear. Next we move on to the SSD, also known as the solid state drive. Huh, it was actually right this time. This is what lets you store all your hentai files. This one was pretty straightforward. There was just a few slots that you needed to insert it into and screw it in. One of which was hidden under this thing. All you do is slot it in at an angle and screw it in. Simple as that. Next we have the CPU cooler. Now this one might be a little hard to guess its function, but it cools the CPU. Who would have guessed? For some reason I had the most trouble with this component. So there's actually different types of CPU coolers, including some that are facing vertically and some that sit facing the CPU. Now at the time that I bought these parts, I obviously had no idea that there was different types, so I just bought a random one. And to summarize how you install the cooler, you just basically remove some parts around the CPU socket, and some of these things, and put these things on top, and apply thermal paste. Then you install the cooler. Sounds easy enough, right? For some reason, the combination of the instructions not having exactly what I'm supposed to do laid out like it's for primary schoolers, and the fact that the video tutorial I was watching also didn't have what to do for this specific cooler, I literally spent like probably over an hour just trying to get this done. But in the end, I finally got it on. Holy shit, after like half an hour I finally did it. Look, hopefully this is going the right direction, because oh my god, this literally took so fucking long. Now we have the GPU. If the CPU was the brains of a PC, then the GPU is the heart. This is the component that lets you play Among Us at 400 FPS. So I want to tell a little story about this specific GPU. This is a Yeston 7700 XT. When I was researching parts, I came across this company that makes these beautiful cards that I knew I had to get. I went for a white themed build, so the Sakura line of cards from Yeston was perfect for my PC. And on top of that, the Radeon 7700 XT and 7800 XT were just about to be released at that time. Now all seems like it's sailing smooth until you realize that Yeston is a company that only really markets their products towards consumers in East Asia, which I don't currently live in. But that wasn't going to stop me. I had a trick up my sleeve. I mean, more like a well-timed coincidence, but just let me be cool, okay? And the trick was that my mother was going to visit China for a few weeks, so I just asked her to purchase it while she was there. Now, people familiar with PC parts will probably be like,
why did you get the 7700 XT and not the 7800 XT? It costs slightly more, and it runs way better.
Well, originally I did ask for the 7800 XT, but I never really asked my mother about it. To install the GPU, all you have to do is insert this part and put it in this slot right here. Surprisingly, this Goliath of a component was the most simple part so far. Next up, we have the power supply. Now, this might be an even more difficult part to guess the purpose of, but take a guess. So I open up the box and... what the f... fuck, look how many cables there are. I'm just going to cut to the chase and tell you that all you need to do is plug in these cables into the motherboard and the power supply. It's pretty simple, although they do give you way more cables than you actually need. With the power supply in, we have everything to run the PC. Obviously, it looks a little weird, but it is recommended that you try turning it on before installing it into the case, just so you don't have to take it out of the case in case that it doesn't turn on. Now what you had to do to turn it on at this stage is just stick your screwdriver in here like this. But I got a little confused with the tutorial I was watching, so I thought they meant to just flip the power supply switch, which supplies the power and doesn't actually turn anything on. If you do it right like I totally did the first time, then you should see the BIOS menu on your screen, which is basically a bunch of settings you can configure that are separate from your operating system. Now it's time for our last component, the case. A lot of people actually don't know that the case is an acronym, which stands for You Should Subscribe Immediately. And if you don't, I'll be really sad. Now to put this in the case, I have to disassemble a few components that won't be able to fit if you just shove it all in at once. Now that sounds like an easy task at first, because you might think all you have to do is do the opposite of what you already did, but there's one obstacle. The fact that some of these parts will not come out unless you use all your strength to yank them out. Especially this motherfucker right here. Holy shit, I finally got that out. Oh my god, my fingers hurt so much. After I got everything out, I had to go to sleep because it was late. And on day 2, I couldn't really record as much footage because at that point my phone was running out of storage. So I could really only record the important parts. Now I had to put in the motherboard, plus everything that was connected to it, in the case, which you do by lining up these things in the case called standoffs, with the holes in the motherboard. This took me a while because I couldn't figure out where to put each standoff to line up with my motherboard. And this is one of the most dangerous parts, because if you accidentally scratch something important on the back of the motherboard, then it's game over. Which I'm really surprised I didn't do actually, because I hit the bottom of the board so many times. But eventually I found the manual for my motherboard online, which has the position of where I need to place the standoffs. Next I have to screw it in place, which was another easy part. The next few steps are pretty simple. Connect the case cables to the motherboard, slot in the GPU, connect the power supply to the GPU, and that's pretty much it. Now, the moment of truth to see if it works. So yeah, I was finally finished. Now, for one last thing. Now after having this PC for a few months, there is one concerning thing that I'm not too sure about, which you might have noticed, which is that the case fans aren't on. That I just have no idea about, so if you know how to fix that, I'd appreciate a comment. But anyways, I know this is a different type of video to my normal ones, but if you liked the video, I'd appreciate you leaving a like, and if you didn't like the video, I'd appreciate you leaving a like anyways. But thank you for watching.